Not intense timeline at least.
So,
Ready, set, go.
hello, I'm Ari, that's Ari in the forum, and he's Natan, Dottore, maybe you know already. And we were the whole week here discussing about the different approaches to design a timeline, and also to different use cases that we are facing since we start to work in this field. So, and we discovered that we are facing the same problems, pretty much, all the people using this kind of timeline designs. And we discovered that we have like very roughly two different use cases. So the typical traditional timeline, when you put everything together in the time, and also the working as you have a sort of a preset bank, and you can recall them directly, and the time is not really involved on the decisions. No? Those are the two different use cases that we found. And also we were discussing about different topics. So interpolation, for example, recording the data in the timeline, and also different terminology, for example, clips or presets on these kind of things. We were like 1 day long discussing.
Yeah, we spent quite a lot of time to find a common language, common,
no?
yeah, vocabulary around these tools. So also because it was related to the research that I'm doing. So it's almost 1 year that I'm working on this kind of thing, which is a timeline, but it's more than that. So this was also a good opportunity to I mean, I show what I did, and with all the requests, we tried to find a common ground, common space. So finding a new terminology, defining some terms, helped in also starting to talk of the same things. So yeah.
And also the topic was UI design, so how to make it modular, and working also with different kind of clips. For example, typical animation clips based on keyframes, for example, more traditional, and other kind of clips based on, for example, if you want to place a block related to a video clip, for example. No. Yeah. Maybe you can add something more. I'm a bit lost in the paper.
Yeah. Okay, we collected all the ideas behind this timeline.
And also requests of other people.
Yeah. And then we actually also define a sort of system structure. So we started to prototype also a software model of what could it be, a software that try to achieve all the requirements. And me and Elias started to do it also. So I don't know, maybe how much time is left.
Still 7 minutes.
I could try to explain briefly.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
So,
Please.
So let's talk about single track. Okay. It's literally, I called it a sampler because it's just a way of organizing data. So I can put something into it, and as soon as I put it into this track, I define the way I interact with it. So I put them here, and in this context, I'm lerping between them using this dimension. Okay, so it's a sampler 1D. Okay. Then eventually I could take the same elements and put them into a 2D sampler. So we don't have this time anymore we have 2 dimensions, so I could provide a 2D sampler position, and just by playing the objects into the space, I can lerp bidimensionally between them. Okay, this is my sampler that walk around, and I can sample between them, but the principle behind is the same. So what I tried to do in the last year is just to understand if there's a way to treat states in a flexible way in different scenarios. So the main thing is to separate, conceptualize and separate what is an item, what is these objects, out of the context. Okay, that's how basically started. The original idea was to my dream at the beginning was to find a way to combine the static approach, so you can design a timeline as we are used to see, with a more dynamic approach in which, especially in the when we're in the performative approach, we need to organize some states which are live. We can't really fix them. So the initial idea was to have these dynamic keyframes, which in reality they were sort of receivers. So you were still able to place them or organize them into a 1D arrangement, but still the final value was on runtime was arriving from somewhere else, from a sensor, from an instrument, or whatever. So that was the idea. And so these days, actually, I prototyped the software that does that. But last day we talked about all the different requirements and ideas. So I basically started from my prototype, and we modified a bit the model, how it could be structured, the software, in order to achieve different needs. And yeah, and in the end we managed to find a sort of simple structure of the system, in which
the model.
Yeah, let's talk about the model of the timeliner. So timeliner as a spread of tracks. Okay, a track model contains a sampler. A sampler contains a set of clips. Okay. So yesterday we basically managed to arrive to this idea of having just clip. You've got a track and you can put clips in it. A clip has a position, which we call it time, but it's a coordinate into space. They have a duration, which means if I just want a keyframe, it's a clip with duration 0. And then as a as an interpolation model, because I need to describe how to interpolate that clip. Okay. And then as an item. And the item itself, it's the very basic building block of this Kairos system. So it can be anything. It can be a value, or a voodoo node. We call it like that because you literally can place dynamically, can instantiate any process node into a clip, into an item. Okay, which means at that point, having this structure, it can be anything. You can have a process node which is a clip. It's a track, for example, and in that case, that's the usual clip that we consider as a clip. No, it's a sequence. I can put into a track. I can put a clip, which is itself another track. Okay, wrapped as a process node.
It's like a composition in After Effects.
So we can, in this scenario, we can do what most of the people asked for, no, this nesting thing or whatever it was called.
Yeah, grouping or nesting.
Grouping was mainly grouping different tracks into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we achieved a sort of structure that allows is very flexible and opens to so many different scenarios. So I'm quite happy with it, and we started to develop it, and that's it. I want to thank everyone for the inputs, it was really cool to share and discuss about different aspects, because obviously it's a huge scenario, a huge field. For me, obviously it wasn't a timeline workshop. In my mind, there are so many other scenarios and way
like
to use it.
Animation type.
Yeah, this Cairo software for me is a software to deal and to manage states, dynamic states or static, but in general, it's a way to organize and arrange states, which can be a timeliner or any other way of managing data. So yeah, we are still a bit confused. I mean, there are so many inputs, so the next day probably I will sit down and try to organize and maybe write down a sort of roadmap, and we can discuss even further how to structure this development. That's it.
Any question, guys and girls?
Will it run on Linux?
Eventually. It depends on you.
So,
And was the first thing that I got in mind to develop.
how
Yeah.
do we get this to still be like a community endeavor? So you're not just like now taking all the input with you and developing something and eventually
run
you'll
away.
release whatever, or will we, I don't know, put out a matrix chat, put all the discussions in the forum? What's it gonna be, or do we hear something back from you in 2 months?
In a kind of style. No, actually, the way we are developing now the software is aimed to achieve this situation in which we've got a common infrastructure, basic core, but which offer the possibility to easily extend in many directions.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
to
software
build
itself.
your own tool.
So
for that.
yeah, obviously I can't do every request. I can develop any kind of software by myself. So I want to prepare something in which many people can operate and extend it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, we need to figure out this structure. But I'm interested in going in that direction to have contributions. Otherwise, or I can, I don't know. You need a proper software house to build software like that. So we need to share the development. Yeah.
What's about the design of the UI? Is there a way that community could contribute in that regard?
I mean, the way we are building the system, UI is literally one extension of it, and it's totally independent from the core itself. So you could design each UI is just a way to look at the system, it's a view on the system, and a way to edit the model of the system, which means you could have different UIs depending on your needs, and they are totally independent. So,
but what I meant, I guess, is that we come up with, as a community, with a desired look, and that is also work to get to that point, or do you want to just do it within the process of building it already, just design it and make it open for other looks? It would be nice to have one idea how it should be.
as I said, for me, Caris is much more than timeliner, and timeliner is one of the usages. Okay, so and the UI for me is very related to the specific usage that you build and you create out of a common background. So at the point depends. Obviously, I started to prototype a track visualization, a track UI, just to start from something. So we could share some thoughts regarding that part, since I'm already developing it. But then nothing prevents that at some point when there is a common infrastructure, someone take it and develop a certain kind of step sequencer with a custom UI, totally independently. Okay. So at that point, it's up to the community and to the single person to.
So then the common sense is kind of a default editor for each data type, which does the simplest or the minimal requirement to edit it, and then together with the data model, it would be something you could open to the community and say, okay, you could edit simple editing any data type, but it's of course not done yet. So, and then everyone is invited to.
Yeah, somehow we are building a language, so, you know, with certain.
And also patterns, or programming patterns, or good way to design this kind of tools. So based on these patterns.
Yeah. But it's in the end, the core will be a collection of tools or instruments that you can use to build a software, a UI that deals and manage data in a certain way, like the timeliner. So yeah. It's very generic the way I'm building
the core is about how to access the model and read and write to it, right?
Yeah, it's literally, it's very abstract. The core for me is identifying what is the item. So what is the state? If it's a static or dynamic, but it's a state, and the relationship between the state and the context in which you interpret the states and manipulate and use them. Okay, so this kind of abstraction and building all the functionality that allow you to find new way to arrange states and manipulate and interpolate between them, or literally is developing an environment and building blocks to start to. That is the basement for further. Yeah.
And what you did from the beginning is to separate the UI from the core, so that the core can run without the need of having the UI open.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thank you.
Next one.
Sono via,